Hey everybody and a half.
Guess who's back? Back again.
With another video. Me. I'm the one who's back. But anyway, look at what time it is. We are approaching the halfway point of the winter 2019 anime season, and as such, it comes time for my annual anime season review. Disclaimer, I've only seen up to episode 4 or 5 with most of these shows, so these obviously aren't my final opinions regarding these anime, and anything I say is subject to change. Oh, and also, spoiler alert, this season is not nearly as good as fall 2018. That's just a fact, mainly because even the bad anime in fall were still entertaining, whereas I f***ing hate the bad anime airing this season. But anyway,
let's just jump into it.
can you see the meaning in your darkness? Oh, where are you now? Have you gone away? The newest production from Madhouse, Boogie Pop Wa Wara Wanai, is interesting. On my anime list, it's tagged as horror, but it doesn't give me quite a horror vibe. It's quite unique. Apparently the novel was actually adapted into an anime once before, back in the year 2000. So this is essentially like a remake. And I gotta say, it's extremely fascinating. The world building in this series is incredible. Every episode is just another piece of this grand puzzle, and it's just exciting watching it unfold. However, as each episode generally serves as a separate piece of the puzzle, certain pieces/episodes fall a bit flat. However, when Boogie Pop works, it works well. I mentioned that I disagreed with the horror tag, and the reason I have for that is simply because it doesn't seem like it's attempting to provide me with a scary or frightening experience. It's more so unsettling. The visuals, pacing, and atmosphere of the show just scream unsettling to me. And speaking of unsettling, the OP is f***ing fantastic and yet again uses unsettling imagery throughout rather than full-on horror imagery. So yeah, I can understand the psychological and mystery tags, but I feel the show just feels more like sci-fi than horror. But we'll see if my opinion changes as the series goes on. For now, I'm intrigued and hoping that we don't get many more disappointing episodes. Circlet Princess is, watchable. In terms of story, it's generic as f***, and there's really no reason to watch it over any other VR-themed series. However, since I've been forcing myself to watch it, I can firmly state that the art style is very fun to look at, and the animation overall is just mesmerizing. The VR scenes are pretty cool, but again, highly generic. The main issue I have with the show is that it really doesn't seem to be focusing too much towards character development, as it is with many character rivalries. Regardless, I would not recommend this one, although I can say it's quite cute visually. Data Live 3 is the third season of the 2013 anime Data Live. Now, it's been like 5 years since season 2, and I remember very little about the first 2 seasons of the anime, if I'm being honest. I had initially planned to rewatch them in preparation for this new season, but before I knew it, the season had already started and it was too late. But I do distinctly remember really enjoying Data Live when I watched it. Now that's not to say that I would necessarily still enjoy it as much now, but I do think that kind of works as a basis for my thoughts on this newest season. So what are my thoughts? Meh. It's okay, I guess. It's not great. There's been a couple good episodes, but it's been very meh so far. They're building up to a story arc with Origami that I'm interested in, but it really hasn't been too much in the show that's engaging me so far. Like Kurumi hasn't shown up, and she's widely considered to be the show's best character, so I'm not feeling it yet. Plus, the animation just feels off. Maybe I'm misremembering, but everyone just looks so young with this style. I swear they looked older before. But yeah, hopefully it gets better, I don't know. Dimension High School is simultaneously the worst anime I've ever seen and the funniest anime I've ever seen. I highly recommend that you never ever watch this. However, I will say that it's genuinely one of the funniest things I've ever seen. The series is basically about these students from the real world who get transported into an anime world to solve puzzles. And as you can see, it barely classifies as anime. It looks like they're in VR chat or something. this is terrible. The cinematography of the live action bits is atrocious, this rock is hideous, and this entire show seems like it was made on a microscopic budget. I will say that the puzzles are somewhat interesting, but very visually bland. However, the standout of the show is this guy.
見つけましたよ。デートレードで稼いだ私のお金を返しなさい。おいおいおい、無理言うなって。
Holy This guy is the funniest dude I have ever seen. He's supposed to be the teacher, and just as soon as he appears, there's a certain presence that he carries with him. It's just amusing overall. After they get sent to the anime world, they fail a puzzle and he gets eaten by the Sphinx. After they beat the puzzles, they all return to the real world, and the magical rock explains that since the teacher was eaten, he'll lose the thing most precious to him. The teacher immediately checks his phone and finds out that all of his money is gone, and he loses it. This is genuinely the funniest scene ever in anime. Don't at me.
返せ！俺の金を返せ！どこだあの石ころめ！どこ行った！粉々にしてくれるわ！
There's just so much beauty in the world, you know?
Truly, this guy is hilarious. But yeah, the show is horrible. Don't watch it. I think the biggest disappointment of the anime is actually the OP, because I feel like there was so much room to do something crazy visually and just really have fun with the live action versus animation bits, but they don't. It's bland, boring, forgettable, and ugly. 0 out of 10, I love it. Domestic Girlfriend is the biggest enigma to me. Before the season started, I was expecting the series to be the slutty ecchi anime of the season, with a specific focus on, taboo topics. But in a similar fashion to Bunny Girl Senpai, this show was not what I was expecting. Let's take a look at the synopsis to determine exactly what my view of the show was before going into it. Natsuo Fuji is in love with his teacher, Hina. Attempting to forget his feelings towards her, Natsuo goes to a mixer with his classmates where he meets an odd girl named Rui Tachibana. In a strange turn of events, Rui asks Natsuo to sneak out with him and do her a favor. To his surprise, their destination is Rui's house, and her request is for him to have sex with her. There's no love behind the act, she just wants to learn from the experience. Thinking that it might help him forget about Hina, Natsuo hesitantly agrees. After this unusual encounter, Natsuo now faces a new problem. With his father remarrying, he ends up with a new pair of stepsisters. Unfortunately, he knows these two girls all too well. He soon finds out his new siblings are none other than Hina and Rui. Now living with both the teacher he loves and the girl with whom he had his first time, Natsuo finds himself in an unexpected love triangle as he climbs ever closer to adulthood. You feel me now, right? Like, this just seems very incest, fan servicey, and bad, and I will clarify now, it's definitely not something great or even necessarily good like Bunny Girl Senpai last season, but it was still genuinely shocking. It follows along the synopsis pretty exactly, but something just feels off when watching it. It's like a guilty pleasure, that kind of feeling, almost like a soap opera. It delves into serious themes and explores the nature of sexuality in a very mature and intriguing way. Certain scenes have left me on the edge of my seats. Certain scenes have made me feel things for the characters. The show still feels like it's trashy, I guess, but there's something beneath that. I genuinely couldn't tell you whether or not the show is good because of how invested I am currently. I truly can't accurately judge it yet. In episode 5, our main character is about to sex up this new character when we get this little interaction. Holy that caught me off guard. It takes a moment where you'd expect fan service or something to come into play and uses it to expose the inner turmoil and flaws of this new character. In fact, all sexual-based scenes do this. They'll build on the inner anxiety and weakness of the characters. It's truly fascinating. All I can say definitely about the show now is that it gives off the vibe of a guilty pleasure. Maybe I'll cover it more in depth once it's over. Oh yeah, and the OP is literally amazing. Best OP of the season, don't at me. So yeah, on to the next one. Kimi no ko ga toku no ga no basho dewa. This OP is so much worse than the last chorus. Sword Art Online Alicization is still airing, and I know that in my last seasonal anime video, I said I'd make a video talking solely about Alicization, and that video's still coming. Just wait a little longer. So yeah, just wait for my thoughts on Alicization. Sorry about that. Magical Girl Spec Ops Asuka is an anime I can tell you nothing about. This and like 2 other anime this season are just super forgettable. Like seriously, I watched an episode and as soon as it's over, I couldn't tell you a thing about it. There are some cool suspense scenes in here, and I think that the stylization for the show is nice, but I genuinely don't have a firm grasp on what's happening. The fan service bits are kind of creepy and gory and rapey, but you know, whatever, who gives a shit? The concept of the series seems interesting, as it's essentially a post-war setting with more realistic magical girls, but it's just super boring overall. The only thing that really interests me about the show is the torture scenes, because those are able to actually build up suspense. Although then again, you do have to overlook the curvy camera angles. I don't know, I'm just not a huge fan of this one. I feel like it fails in execution. Okay. Yarakabima, Kanashimimo, Anatase, Gaotubanandasu. The quintessential quintuplets was another anime that I expected to be sluttier than it actually is. I mean, all I really knew about it was that it was a harem anime with quintuplets. And while there are many good harem anime out there, the poster for the show just gave you the impression of a lazy, no-shits-given harem anime that was purely made for fan service. It isn't. If I could describe this anime in one word, it would be wholesome. It's just super wholesome and fun, and I love it. This guy is basically the tutor for these quintuplets, and again, it's just so wholesome. A good harem anime should use the harem aspect to develop each individual waifu with elegance and class to a point where each character becomes fleshed out by the end of the series. Needless to say, this is a good harem anime. Watch it, it's great. I love that OP, but I hate the show's bad. Yeah, this trash is still airing. Thumbs down. Yeah, this treasure's still airing. Thumbs up. My Roommate is a Cat is one of my favorite anime this season, mainly because of how f***ing adorable it is. This guy's a massive introvert, and he ends up taking in this cat. The episode structure generally goes like this. We see a sequence of events from the dude's point of view, and then we see the same sequence of events from the cat's point of view. This guy has some legit trauma that he hasn't gotten over yet, and this cat is like a source of therapy for him. As we see their relationship grow and develop, we just automatically grow a bond to both of them. And the side characters are all great too. I just think the show's very fun and cute, and I love it. Inside Yay, not totally terrible art style. Whine, I don't understand how stuff works. Growl, we're tough. Bugs, let's fight bugs. More bad animation, repetitive bullshit. Yay! I hate this show. That time I got reincarnated as a slime. Now, if you recall, this was my 3rd favorite anime from last season. It's no longer up there for me. If you recall, the show started as kind of a satire of overpowered protagonists, and I loved it for that. But now that we're in the second core, the show just takes itself a little more seriously as an isekai, which spoils a lot of its charm. Now, by no means is it a bad show, but it isn't as absolutely amazing as it was when they initially started. I still recommend it, though. Believe the sky! Pastel Memories is absolutely awful. I won't even bother to talk about it further because it's just so irredeemably terrible that it's not even fun to criticize. Don't watch it. The Promised Neverland is the best horror anime I've seen in a long time, and for good reason. It's about these kids at an orphanage who discover that they're actually being fattened up to be fed to giant monsters. It's quite terrifying, it gets very psychological, and it's very engaging. The kids are basically trying to escape as the 2 adults are trying to stop them. It's great, watch it. They have plot twists, suspense sequences, and big reveals, and it's simply awesome. Meiji Tokyo Renka is a genre of anime I'm not really used to. Reverse harem. which is when one girl is surrounded by a bunch of guys. Now, obviously, this show is not aimed at me, so take my opinions here with a grain of salt. Overall, it's fairly entertaining, and certain characters are quite charming, but there isn't any depth or emotion whatsoever. It's very surface level. It's a fun watch, but it's really not much more than that. Meh.
Bitch lasagna, bitch lasagna. T-Series ain't nothing but a bitch lasagna, bitch lasagna, bitch lasagna. Look at
Gao no Daika is not good. The first episode bored me. The second episode bored me. Up until the end when it did something so crazy and bold that I was like, whoa, this anime might actually be shaping up, and then it got boring again, and it's boring. It's very hard for me to analyze a show when I'm just so f***ing bored by it. A hard pass. This one doesn't have an OP, so I'm gonna sing you Barney. I love you, you love me. Something, something, kill your family and die. This joke is really dumb. Okay, go back to the video. Rinchi Akoda-chan is absolutely great, and it pisses me off how low it's getting rated. This series is a set of 3 to 4 minute shorts featuring Akoda-chan, with each episode being directed by a different person and having a very different art style. I'm also pretty sure that the voice actors for Akoda-chan changes every episode as well. From a production standpoint alone, it's a really unique look into the work of each of these directors and how they approach the same material, but from a character standpoint, it's quite fascinating as well. The character of Akoda-chan is so layered and intriguing. She puts up a front of confidence when she's truly sensitive, self-conscious, and vulnerable. The show's f***ing fantastic, and it pisses me off how it's being rated. Yeah. The Rising of the Shield Hero is one of the best first episodes I've seen in a long time. I don't really want to spoil it because it's that good. What I will say is that it's a very amusing isekai that flips a lot of tropes on their side and is just quite awesome. Hopefully it can keep its quality up, but for now, I highly recommend it. Oh, love me, mister, mister. 夢じゃなきかせてね、ミスター、もうミスター。許されるほど切ない思いだけが暴れ出す。その視線に負けそうになる。二人だけの危ないゲーム。Love is war, love is war, love is war. Now this is my personal favorite anime this season, at least right now. Kaguya-sama Love is War is about the president and vice president of a prestigious school who are both in love with each other but have so much pride that they refuse to confess to one another. So we get a bunch of psychological battles between the two as they each try to set up the other person into a trap where they have to confess. And Chica is f***ing adorable, but that's just common knowledge. Watch Love is War, it's great. Anyway guys, those are my thoughts on the majority of anime airing this season. If you enjoyed, why not check out some of my other anime-related videos? Oh yeah, and also,
leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you already are subscribed, then grill that notification bell to be notified whenever we post one of our glorious videos. Check out our social media pages, link in the description below, and as always,
thanks for watching.